welcome our listeners back to the Winning Response podcast.
Yes.
And I am super excited about what we are talking about today. We have spent the last few episodes talking about the soil of our heart and planting the word in our heart, the importance of that we have to prepare our heart to receive the word of God. And then when we do receive that word, we have to continue to water it. That is meditating it, getting it down in our heart deep, and that we can have faith in one area or water the word in one area, and then maybe not have watered the word in another area of our life based on the word. And so the importance of that. And so today you are going to share that testimony. I am so excited for the listeners to hear about how faithful God has been to Crystal.
Yeah. No, I'm so thankful, and I'm trusting God that I'll get through this without crying, because, Jen and I were just talking before we started recording that this is one of those times where you choose to trust God when you just don't know. So this is a testimony of the Lord healing me from stage 4 cancer. Going back to the very beginning, I think it's important to know some of the natural sides behind it, like the symptoms and all that. So I'm going to start from the very beginning.
I think that's good. Our listeners need to know, because then they will see, even to a greater degree,
what the Lord did,
what the Lord has done.
Yeah. Yes. So I started having some symptoms in November of actually the symptoms started earlier that year, but I finally went in to a doctor in November of 2015, and they took a biopsy. And right there, I was just like, why are you taking a biopsy? I just thought it was kind of an abnormal thing. I believe I think you and I were together at church. I didn't tell anybody because it was one of those things, but I remember walking down a hallway. We were serving, and I had gotten a message from the doctor's office that they needed me to call him back. And I think it was the day before my birthday, or my birthday right around then.
Mm-hmm.
And I waited until I left, and I called, and they said the biopsy had come back positive for cancer, and they wanted to do a surgery right away. And so I did that. And they didn't like the margins. And so they went ahead and scheduled a full hysterectomy for January of 2016. And so they took everything out. They took my uterus, fallopian tubes, ovaries, which in the natural, when they take your ovaries, you go right into full-blown menopause. And that alone is a testimony of the Lord's healing power, because I think there were 2 or 3 days that I had some symptoms. And really, besides that, I haven't had the symptoms that a lot of women deal with. Of course, I used my words in the meantime, and I spoke to my body, and I told it, that we weren't going to have all these crazy symptoms and things. So after the hysterectomy, they had taken a bunch of lymph nodes in that surgery. I think they took 14, and one of them had come back abnormal. And the doctor didn't like that. And so they wanted me to start chemo and radiation right away. And I remember being in the doctor's office, and he said that, and Ben and I mean, our mouths just kind of dropped, like, what?
You weren't expecting it.
Not at all.
Mm-hmm.
Not at all. And I think looking back, was it real? I don't know. Some things I just don't know all the answers to, but we were hoping that they would get everything with the hysterectomy.
Right.
So I think when we heard,
I think that's natural to hope that.
I do too.
Most anybody would hope that.
Anybody would hope that. Yeah. And so when we heard that it was in one of the lymph nodes, the doctor wanted to do the chemo and radiation. And I remember Ben and I getting in the car from there. We didn't talk the whole way home, and it was an hour drive home. We didn't say one word. And I shed a few tears, and I finally told Ben, I said, I'm not doing it. I am not going to do that. I was in so much fear because I had seen things on movies. I had heard people's experiences with it. Wasn't even open to praying about it or hearing from the Lord about it. I just had made my mind up. I'm not doing it. So the doctor had agreed to do a PET scan. I had asked them, it's more extensive testing, and it's kind of a scary process.
I was going to say, I've heard of a PET scan, but what exactly do they do?
So Ben had come with me, but they wouldn't let him back in the room. And I sat in this tiny little room, and they kind of prepare you for it. And I remember just sitting back there, and I was crying a little bit. And the song came on the radio. They had some music playing, Lean on Me. And it was just like, a huge hug from the Lord. And I sat there and I was like, okay, I'm going to lean on you. Then they come in, they bring, it almost looks like a Mission Impossible briefcase thing. They carried in like this metal case, and they pull out this injection that's thousands and thousands of dollars. And they do that. But based on those tests, they say it can tell whether your body has any cancer cells or not. So that came back negative. And so I thought, okay, good.
Justified your not going further.
Justified not wanting to do any treatment despite what the doctor wanted me to do. Even the PET scan, that didn't move him. He still wanted me to do it. And I said, I'm not doing it. So from there, so that was the beginning of 2016. In January of 2017, I had started having a lot of mid back pain. And I wasn't quite sure what it was. I didn't really necessarily think it was anything related to cancer. I just didn't know. And so I had gone to a couple different doctors, and one doctor had said something like I was drinking too much water. One of them thought it was like a UTI, something like that. But it got to a point, I mean, that was month after month dealing with this pain. And I remember I would stay in our guest room and I would just stay up all night long. I had the Bible out in front of me. I had all these books out in front of me. I would pray. I was doing everything that I knew to do and speaking to it. But the pain got to be really unbearable. And so I didn't have insurance at the time. I had canceled that after the hysterectomy because it was an insane amount every month that I was paying. And I thought, why am I going to pay this when I don't have cancer?
Right.
I don't need any more surgeries.
I don't need it anymore. So why pay for it?
Exactly. But that deterred me from going to the doctor as well, which I know a lot of people, it has the money thing. And so one day I was at home, and my family knows me pretty well. I have a pretty high pain tolerance. When they've heard me complain about pain, they knew, like, this is legit.
Right. It's not, you're not wimpy.
I'm not, no, not wimpy.
You're not wimpy.
But my mom had come over one day and she saw me laying in my bed and I was just crying. And she said, Crystal, if you do not get up and get in my car and let me take you to the hospital, I'm going to call an ambulance. And I was not happy with her. I was not happy at all. But I finally agreed and I went in, and they right away did a CT scan, and that came back positive. It had shown the cancer had spread everywhere. It had spread to most of my vital organs. It went to my bladder, my stomach, kidneys. I mean, it was everywhere. It was so much that they couldn't even, if I were to choose to do treatment at that time, they couldn't even do radiation because it had gone too far. And so I remember at that point in the hospital, the doctor's face when he walked in, I was in so much pain. And I don't know if people have never been there and you're in that much pain, it's hard to even concentrate. It's hard to even really pay attention because all you're focused on is this pain in my body.
The pain screams so loud that I don't know how you focus on anything else because it's so right there.
It's everything in you is fighting to get rid of this pain. And so the doctor had come in, and I just remember him looking at me with this really pitiful look. Like he just had so much pity for me. And I remember he didn't talk to me a whole lot. He talked to the family, and Ben was really aware of what he told me at the time because he wanted me in faith. He wanted me fighting.
The less you knew in detail, the easier it was for you to think differently.
Exactly. Yeah. And he was in protect mode.
Yeah.
Ben's already protected.
Well, thank the Lord.
Yes. Oh, I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful. From there, the main thing that the doctors were concerned about before even treating the cancer was getting the pain under control. And so they had me go up to a hospital that performed a certain kind of surgery. It's nephrostomy tubes is what they ended up doing. They put those in my back. It's a tube on each side that goes directly into your kidney that relieves the pressure. I had to wear these bags on my legs.
I remember that.
Yeah, that the fluid would drain to. And I was not happy about doing that surgery. I remember being in the hospital and I had a big moment where I just broke down. and was embarrassed.
Mhm.
You know, it's an
Mhm.
embarrassing
Right.
surgery. You don't want your kids to know. You don't want your husband to see you like that.
Right.
And he was so gracious. I don't even know why I thought those thoughts.
The enemy.
The enemy.
The enemy.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
So I ended up doing that surgery, and it relieved the pain almost immediately. My creatinine levels were through the roof, which that's your kidney. I don't know all the details of it, but it has to do with your kidney levels.
Okay.
So they were through the roof, and their main goal at the hospital was to get those levels down, because honestly, I almost died from kidney failure.
Right.
before the
Well, you're
cancer.
not getting rid of that waste.
Mhm.
So the poison
backing
really is in your body and
Mhm.
it can't get it out.
Right. So that, thank God I went in. Thank God my mom was there and made me go to the hospital when I did.
Thank the
'cause I
Lord
could've-
for a godly mama
Yes.
who did it even though
I
you
didn't
weren't
want to.
happy.
Yeah.
We need people
exactly.
like that in
We
our life
do.
when we're in situations
We
that
do.
will say, no,
Yeah.
we're fighting this. Get your rear end up and let's go and
Exactly.
find out what's going on, because ignoring it isn't going to bring about a great solution.
No.
We need to get answers so
Yeah.
we can figure out how to fight this thing.
Yeah. No
Yeah.
more playing pretend like it's not there. Mhm.
Exactly.
So they did the surgery, and after that the oncologist wanted me to come in and talk with him about doing the chemo treatment. And I
That you didn't want to do way up at the beginning, right? So we're back here now.
We're back to square one.
Right.
And I had the same attitude this time about it. I remember him really up in my face, just stern with me. And he said, if you don't do this, you're going to die.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I'm not doing it. And I left there and I went home, and it's one of those times, you have times in your life where you can just see the picture, you
Mhm.
know. And I remember sitting on the bed, and Ben came in, and I said, I'm not doing it. I am not going to do the chemo. And he said, will you please do this for me? I want my wife here. And I received a call from my pastor at the time, who encouraged me to do the treatment as well. And between her and Ben, I gave them enough place. I look back now, and I gave them both enough place in my life that I was willing to listen to what they had to say. Yeah. And the Lord knew that. He's so faithful to get it to you no matter what. The Lord was trying to tell me all this time, but I had blocked him out. I was in so much pain that I was having a hard time even hearing his voice, honestly, when I look back, because you're so focused on that. But after I'm talking with them, I decided to go ahead and do it. And that was tough. That was a moment that I was not very happy, but I was willing to do it.
So you went ahead and submitted.
Really? That's what it was.
I mean, well, the Lord used the two people in your life that you needed to submit to. Mm-hmm. Nobody else could have that kind of place in your life. Mm-hmm. Your pastor and your husband. Mm-hmm. And they love you so much that the Lord was able to use them in a way that I don't know that there was anybody else in your life at the time that could have spoke to you that you would have listened to. Mm-hmm. And so you yielded to that.
And I'm so thankful.
And I'm thankful too.
So thankful.
Because you're here.
Yeah. Well, and that he'll place the Lord's always going to put people in your life to speak into your life if you'll give him that place that he'll use time and time again. I know he's used you at many times in my life to speak truth to me, to encourage me, but I give you that place.
Right.
And so if you don't have people like that in your life, you need to get people in your life.
Ask God for him. He'll bring them.
He will. He will. So from there, I was fighting at that point fear thoughts. My mind was constantly, this is all happening so fast. And it just felt like my mind was bombarded with thoughts and all this stuff going on. So I started treatment with 3 different kinds of chemo. They are some of the strongest chemos that there are. You actually have to take like a 2-week break in between each one just so your body can recover enough to get your white blood cell count up enough to get the next dose, which at certain times mine wasn't able to get up enough. So they have to give you a shot that really hurts. It hurts your bones. It hurts to walk. But it was able to get my white count up enough to get that next treatment. By the second treatment, I had lost my hair. And as a woman, that's not fun. I mean, it's just not fun. I remember getting out of the shower and just trying to brush it before a doctor's appointment and just clumps coming out. And I just started bawling, you know, and so that was a moment. My sister came over that day and she shaved her head with me and we laughed and we went wig shopping and that was hilarious. We tried on all different colors of wigs and I mean, just made as much light of the moment as we could. So after that and really getting the pain under control is when I was able to start getting in faith.
When you say in faith, what do you mean by that?
That's where I was able to get quiet enough to hear what my Father had to say to me. It was during that time I did not feel like a faith giant whatsoever. Not one bit of me felt like a faith giant. Actually, it felt like everything that I was believing for in the natural was failing. You know, I believed that the one surgery would get it all out. I believed I wouldn't have to do chemo. I didn't want my hair to fall out. All these things that it just felt like I was a faith failure. And of course, the enemy comes back again and he says, faith's not even real.
He'll agree with you on that.
Oh, yeah, he will. Oh, yeah, he will. That God doesn't care about you. Why is this God that you love so much? Why is he letting this happen? Which is the biggest lie. It's the biggest lie. So anyway, at that point, I was able to really get quiet. I had a lot of time in my bed. So I was able to get quiet and hear what God had to say to me. And so it was mustard seed size faith. And I remember going to him one day and I was just laying in bed and I didn't even have the energy to get in the word. I was so tired. My flesh was so weak at that point. And I just remember closing my Bible and I rolled over and I just said, God, I need you to help me. I need some strength. And I just felt so much peace and like he was pleased with me for casting it over onto him instead of taking it and trying to make a healing happen. He was able to work. And so I started meditating on healing scriptures. I would keep books before my eyes. I would read when I could. And I was just meditating on healing scriptures as much as I could. And one day the scripture just popped out to me. I like to explain it when you hear something, a word from God, to me, it's like a firework goes off inside. And it's just this instant excitement. And you just know, you have like a knowing that this is true.
And this is something I can hang on to.
Exactly.
You grab hold of it.
Exactly. And I did. Yeah. And that word was Jeremiah 6:33. And it says, behold, I bring it health and cure, and I will cure them and reveal to them the abundance of peace and truth. I think that word cure is the word that stuck out to me because they said, you can't cure this.
Yeah.
This is stage 4.
You've been told there was no cure.
Oh, yeah. No cure. Even years later, and I'll kind of get into that too. But I think that word but when I read that, I'm like, this is it. This is what I stand on. I wrote it down, put it next to my bed. I had it hanging on my wall. I would say it. I would sing it. That word was always coming out of my mouth, meditating on it. And so that changed my whole outlook from there on. When I got that word, the Lord has cured me. So all this stuff in the natural is just a tool. Just a tool that he's using.
The process.
It's just a process.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's a good way to say it.
Yeah.
It's a process. So those tubes that were in my back, I started making so much progress. The doctors were astonished after the first treatment. They really couldn't believe it. They said, "You wait till your urologist sees this. He's not going to believe it. He's going to be shocked." And the urologist, one thing that Ben and we always purposed to have a good attitude when we went in there. And the urologist would call me his little ray of sunshine every time I went in. He's like, people are so mean to my girls up front and you guys just come in. He said, you're one of the worst cases I've ever had. And you're just happy when you come in. But he looked at the images from that and he could not believe it. And so from there, he took one of the tubes out. He said, we're going to take one out right now. We'll put a stent in, see how that does. And then if it's doing okay, we'll take the other one out. It wasn't hardly any time at all. He was able to take that next tube out, had 2 stents in, then he took 1 stent and then he took the next one. Then it was nothing.
Glory to God.
I know. They were just amazed. So at that point, it was doctor appointment after doctor appointment. I was just basically living at the hospital. But any chance that we got, we would tell the nurses and the doctors that God did it.
Yeah.
The medicine it's there. It's part of the process, but God did this.
Right.
And even if they weren't believers, I think there was part of them that were like, okay, this isn't something that happens in the natural.
Mm-hmm. They recognized probably more than just everyday people, because they see the worst of the worst.
They do.
Yeah.
Day in, day out. And so we just use it as an opportunity to give God glory. One time, one of those marker points, we were in the chemo room doing chemo, and the chaplain would come around every time we were in there. And one time we were in there, it might have been the last treatment, the chaplain comes around, we were the last ones of his round, and he comes up, and Ben and I, as we watch him go into each patient, we're like, we're going to ask him if we can pray for him. So he comes to us and we're like, sir, can we pray for you? You are such a blessing. You go around, you pray for all these people. He said, in all the years that I've been doing this, I've never once had anybody ask to pray for me.
Wow.
But that's not on us.
No.
But that's the Lord showing this chaplain, I see you. I love you. Thank you for loving my people. And we're able to pray for strength for him. And that was a really neat thing that the Lord was able to do to impart in him. So after I was done, so all the chemo, I did the treatments, months and stuff, and the Lord helped me. And in the meantime, I was able to be there for my girls. I purposed to not let them see me in bed as much as I could. So, there were some days of recovery, but the other days I'd put a dress on, I'd put my wig on, I'd put the makeup on. I tried to make their lives as normal as possible, even if we were sitting on the couch watching Hannah Montana or some America's Funniest Video, something. We had to purpose to keep that joy in our house.
I was going to say that earlier when you said you were the ray of sunshine, and the joy, the word says the joy of the Lord is our strength. And you purposing to do that, I mean, it affected others, but it was strengthening you and your family at that moment.
Oh, it was. Well. It was.
Yeah.
And it's a strength that you can't muster up on your own. It's something that comes from the inside. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when you're dealing with this and they're basically telling you that you're not going to be around for your kids, and you go into these doctor's office and you got the joy of the Lord on you. It's not your joy. It's the Lord.
It's the Lord.
Yeah.
And I remember in that time, you and I talking about having a vision of the future. And we would say, okay, we're going to sit on the beach when we have our grandbabies and we're going to, that vision, it's so important to see the future.
It is.
And I know, you're doing that.
Oh, the Lord. I don't know if I even have that.
I just remember us, like, okay, sister, you're living long and strong, because we are going to get old together, not look old, but we'll be older in years. But we are going to watch our grandbabies, together sitting on the beach.
Well, that was another one of those moments. I remember I was in the midst of doing a treatment, and I was parked in a gas station parking lot. And I looked over and I saw this grandma walking across the parking lot holding her grandson's hand. And I said it out loud. I was by myself in the car. I said out loud, I said, that will be me. And I had a little grandson born last year. And I every time I think about it, I want to cry, because that came to pass.
Yes.
The Lord, he saw that. And here I am holding my little grandson's hand as he's learning to walk. And I'll be here for a long time holding him as he,
you will.
Does all the other things. So after the treatment was done, they wanted me to come in for follow-up care. They started off every 3 months and then 6 months and all that. And the enemy, his tactic is fear. Always. And so before those appointments, he would always come to me and he would say, oh, it's back this time. It's back this time. And just really try to get me in fear. And I remember one time I was driving to one of those appointments, and the Lord spoke to my heart, and he said, this appointment is an opportunity for you to get excited, because you're seeing in the natural what I've already done. It's just a confirmation of what I've already done, the healing in your body. And so from there, I was like, okay, here we go, Lord.
You changed the script.
Oh, totally changed
changed the script. The enemy was giving you one script, and you said, I'm looking at it God's way.
Yes. And so I'm driving to that appointment, and I don't know about anybody else, but the Lord, a lot of times, like that time in the chair getting a PET scan, he uses songs for me.
Yeah.
Well, you know what song came on that day?
What?
Staying Alive.
Oh, perfect.
Right before I'm about to turn in to the parking lot, it's, staying alive. And I'm like, okay, here we go. And so I go bebopping into my appointment, just so excited, because it's like, even that song, I'm like, that could not have come on at a more perfect time, So went in and did that. Of course, it came back negative. Every time the doctors were just speechless. I had one I'm thinking of who was a little bit more on the pessimistic side, who never really wanted to get too excited for me, was always a little bit of a Debbie Downer that it could come back.
Right. Yeah.
But they basically told me, you're healed. I actually got a new doctor last year who my previous doctor had moved away, and he went in. He looked at my chart, and I just sat there for seemed like 10 minutes, and he's flipping through my chart, flipping through it, and then he'd close it, and then he'd open it again and go through it again. And I'm like, what is going on here?
What is he doing?
And he didn't believe it. He didn't believe my file and that I was cured. And so he actually walked out of the room, and I heard him talking on the outside of the door to, I guess, what was another doctor. And he came back in the room, and he said, I called such and such doctor, and we're referring you to a different hospital to get additional testing to make sure. And so I was not a happy camper.
I can imagine.
You can imagine. You know me pretty well.
I'm like, you're probably like, no, what are you doing?
I told Ben, I said, can you believe this? I'm not doing this. I'm not going to do it. But each time I went to cancel that appointment, they went ahead and scheduled it right there. Each time I went to cancel it, I just got to check, no, you're going to do it. The Lord actually, I'll tell this part. Then the morning of, the Lord thanked me. He said, thank you. He just spoke to my heart, and he said, thank you for doing this. And I'm like, why are you thanking me for going to this appointment? And he said, a lot of people would not believe that I healed you if it wasn't doctor verified. And so I said, okay. Talk about another attitude change. I put the music up loud.
Flip the switch again.
I was excited. Yeah. I drove up an hour, and I went and did this testing. I went in, and the nurse, she could probably just sense that joy on me. She just came up to me, or no, it was a doctor, gave me a big old hug, and, just went on and did the procedure, and it came back negative, of course.
Yes.
And that's kind of the gist of the testimony. It's been 7 years now,
Glory
and
to
I
God.
don't have anything.
Thank you, Lord.
It's never come back, because there's nothing to come back.
Right.
It's cured.
God took care of it.
He performed his word.
Yes.
He said, behold, I bring it health and cure. And he cured me. The only thing left on my body are scars from the surgeries. Even the doctor at one point, my white blood count was down for several years, I think 2 or 3 years after the chemo treatments. And the doctor at one point told me, he said, they'll probably never go back up because of what your body's been through. And I said, no, they are going back up. They're going back up to normal. And it took a little bit, but each time I went in for testing, they'd go up a little bit, and they've been in the normal range for years.
That's awesome.
So even that, the only thing left are the scars, and those don't even bother me, because it reminds me the Lord did this. The Lord healed me from all this.
Yeah.
So in kind of a full circle moment, that same urologist who had called me his little ray of sunshine at my workplace, his wife had come in actually, and I recognized her last name. And I said, is your husband Dr. So-and-so? And she said, yes. And she herself had cancer. And so after she had left, I went in a back room just real quick, and I just prayed for her. I said, Lord, I lift her up to you. I ask that you would perform healing in her body, and just a quick prayer. And she must have called her husband, this doctor, because within, I want to say 30 minutes, he walked into the workplace, and he walks over to me with this big old smile, and he's like, hey. And he said, do you remember the last thing that I told you? And I said, no, sir. And he said, kind of what I said earlier. He said, you and your husband would come in, and you were so happy. He said, I had all these patients who had hardly anything wrong with them, and they would complain. They would cuss out my girls up front. They were so rude. And he said, you guys would come in, and you were just such a joy to my staff and myself. And anyway, was able to tell him, that I was prayed for his wife, and he said she wasn't quite there yet, but received it. And it was just it was a full circle moment. That doctor who saw me at the very beginning, for the Lord to in turn be able to use me to pray for his wife, who has cancer, It's like, oh my God.
Yeah. Isn't that the Lord? He will take things that the enemy means for so bad. That story, your story could be very, very different. But because you chose to stand on the word and you chose to walk that out, your victory, your winning in this by the Lord is causing you to be able to speak into other people's lives that are dealing with some of the same things to cause them to see that they can too have a good result, that they don't have to believe the evil report. They can believe the good report. And I believe that's a lot of how the Lord gets glory out of the tough things that we go through. He brings that around so that other people can find hope and encouragement and know that they can make it.
Well, and the word says that we are more than a conqueror.
Yes.
And the Lord's allowed me to share this testimony to people. I remember one in particular that she had come in my workplace as well, and they had diagnosed her with brain cancer. And she's just spilling her heart, to me. And the doctor said, your hair will never grow back. And I said her name and I said, look at me. I said, the doctors gave me 30 days to live. And here I am, years later, nothing wrong with me. So I said, your hair can come back just as it was before. And it wasn't long after that. I think she started crying. I don't know if she's a believer or not, but I was able to share my testimony. And she came back, I don't know if it was a year or year and a half later, this big head of bouncy curls.
I love it.
And it made me so happy because it's not, the name of this podcast is A Winning Response. Well, how do we get the win? We have to respond the right way.
Yes.
And when we trust God, the biggest key for the listeners to take away from this is finding out what God says to you about your situation.
Yeah.
And you stand on that and you let that word get in your heart. Like we've talked about, let your heart be tender, good soil. Let that word get in and work, and you meditate on it. You lay back, you rest, because faith is a rest, and you watch what the Lord can do.
Right.
You watch what he can do and that nobody else can do. The doctors didn't heal this. Medicine didn't heal it. They're part of the process, maybe a tool, but the Lord's the one who touched my body and performed a cure.
Yeah.
And it hasn't come back, and it never will.
And
here I am holding my little grandson's hand, walking across the parking lots.
I love
so it. Faithful.
He's so faithful.
And he's
so
no
faithful.
Respecter of persons.
No.
And so my heart, if there's anybody who's listening who themselves or even somebody that you don't have to be a faith giant.
No.
You might not even know the Lord, but if you go to him and you say, you know what? I don't know much about you, but I've heard this testimony. I've heard that you're a God who can heal. And you go to him with a mustard-sized faith, give that to him and see what he can do. Yeah. I'm excited.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
So some scriptures that I stood on that I would encourage the listeners to stand on. John 10:10 was a big one for me. The enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but I have come that they would have life and have life more abundantly. Psalms 91:16, with long life I will satisfy you and show you my salvation. Luke 1:37, Mark 9:23, Isaiah 41:10, Isaiah 43:2, and Jeremiah 31:12. So I encourage the listeners to get these before their eyes and trust the Lord.
Right. Because he's faithful.
He's faithful.
And I'm so thankful.
Me too.
Because we would not be sitting here.
Or we might not be in the beach in the future, but we're going to be.
We are going to
and
be.
We have been.
We have since then. Yes, we have. We certainly have. And the Lord is so good and so faithful. And as he's kept you in this season, in this situation, he can do that in every situation in our lives, no matter what it is, whether it's healing or protection or anything, for standing for our kids, our marriage. As we've said so many times in this podcast, you find out what he says in the word about your situation, and then you stand on that. And that's the only thing that you let yourself look at, see, speak, believe, no matter how strong other things are trying to come at you. And you will win.
Every time.
Every time, because you didn't quit.
Well, and God won't fail.
He never fails. He can't. It's not in his DNA to fail. He wins every time. I love it. Well, I hope the listeners enjoyed today. I know I sure did. And so thankful that the Lord kept you and that He's allowing us to do this.
Me
And
too.
we just love you, listeners, and look forward to seeing you next time on The Winning Response.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of The Winning Response with Jen and Crystal. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and rate this podcast, and we encourage you to share with others. If you want more information or want to connect, go to thewinningsponse.com. Thanks for joining us today, and tune in next time on the Winning Response podcast.